Governor George Pataki is our in-studio guest. We're talking politics. No more debt is his goal. It should, as Jefferson said, it should be impossible for the nation to borrow, or by what rules?
Well, I think we should have a balanced budget amendment. I think the federal officials should live what most families and most states have to live under, which is the requirement of a balanced budget.
Yeah.
But no, I would disagree with you on whether we should never have debt. I think if you're making a capital investment in a something that's going to last for 100 years and it's going to have an economic value to create jobs, or if we're engaged in a war or some crisis like that, then I think we can.
And by the way, Jefferson didn't follow his own criteria. He borrowed money to buy the Louisiana Purchase. So,
and that wasn't such a bad deal, Jan. He may have been right. So things like that, sure, there are appropriate uses of debt.
It's interesting, though. You've got yesterday Senator Kerry, talking about the balanced budget amendment. Here's what he said:
"We've already debated this several times, and we have voted on it. And as I've said in the past, the most compelling argument against this amendment doesn't come from me or from anybody on the floor. It actually comes from the real experts, the people who framed the Constitution of the United States. If they were here on the Senate floor today, they would vote against this amendment because it violates the Constitution's basic tenet, which is majority rule."
I want you to evaluate that nonsense.
Amending the Constitution violates the basic tenet of the Constitution.
Yes.
That's kind of strange.
And how would you amend the Constitution by a majority vote?
Yeah, you can't.
That's pretty much a self-refuting argument, isn't it?
It pretty much is. And it's also interesting. I knew Senator Kerry had near divine powers, but to know what every single one of the founding fathers would say about a bill 235 years later is incredibly powerful. I'm very impressed by that.
And the majoritarian impulse is what they were trying to avoid with building a republic rather than a democracy.
Exactly right. And checks and balances and all the separation of powers.
So what's wrong with those people from Massachusetts anyway? Let's talk to some more folks here. And this is Anita. Good morning, Anita.
Hi, good morning, Joe Pataki.
Good morning, Anita. Thanks for calling in. I think I should wait until I hear your question.
Yeah. Well, I have 1,000 million questions, but I started agree with the last caller that you have about immigration. And also, I was living in Connecticut. Well, my husband was in the service, and we moved down to Connecticut from there, in Groton, Connecticut. And we lived there in Connecticut for 20 years, okay? Basing on the immigration, I was married to a military. I had a son, a 6 months old.
Anita, we're going to run out of time. Can you give what is your central point you would like us to know?
My sense is, I got too many questions, but the one that I want to know is, I came down to Connecticut to live when you was the governor. When you were governor in New York City, my husband's grandmother was living in.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Anita. I wanted to hear all of it, but unfortunately, we're not going to have enough time. No American debt. Is that on the web?
It's on the web. Thank you, Jan. This has been a lot of fun. And Anita, thank you for your husband's service. We produce no finer people than those who put on the uniform to defend our country.
And if you're going to send a donation to American Debt, do not use a credit card.